I mean, is this not the biggest implosion in NBA history of this super team that just fell flat
I
on
mean,
their
it's
on their
got to
face?
be. And I almost want to say the era of the big three is basically coming to an end because, again, this could be a short-term thing with Phoenix right now with Durant, Chris Paul, and Devin Booker. Obviously, throw DeAndre Ayton in there. But so
Yeah,
the Phoenix is now the super team. And I think at this point with Durant and that type of lineup, I know they gave up a lot of pieces to get Durant, but it's like at this point, Phoenix, you better win the NBA title this year if you have Kevin Durant, Chris Paul, and Devin Booker all on the same floor. But then to your point about the Nets, on a side note, and it is kind of related, is that the Nets have just gotten fleeced. This is the second time they've gotten fleeced, or they've gone all in on an experiment. If you remember, the Chris Paul, and not Chris Paul. I'm sorry, the Paul Pierce
Paul
and the
Pierce.
Kevin Garnett experiment from the Celtics to the Nets.
Yep.
The Celtics used all those picks over the next couple of years to rebuild into almost what they are today under Brad Stevens, and now under, I don't even know who the head coach is anymore, because obviously Ime Udoka was out after 1 year due to his off the court transgression. So, but the Nets seem like they're cursed because they went with the older guys in Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett, and they tried this big three experiment where they get Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving first, and basically Kyrie Irving's there and Kevin Durant wants to go to Brooklyn because of Kyrie Irving. That never works out. They said, "Oh, wait, we'll bring you James Harden as well." Big three. You mentioned 16 games together. I mean, how does that not work? I mean, again, I think it's a clash of personalities. I mean, I think Kyrie's a big locker room cancer, to be honest with you. So I think this is going to be a short-term experiment in Dallas, if you ask me. I doubt they'll come to a long-term extension. Even if they do, Kyrie's going to want out in a year and a half anyway. He's going to keep jumping from team to team. He's a typical locker room cancer that like we probably have never seen something like this in quite a while, but it's just more exposed due to the digital age and social media, and everyone can actually see it. But I can't remember the last time something like this blew up so badly for one NBA franchise.
No.
And just to wrap up my point about the end of the big three. I'll use the Sixers as an example. They just have it's Joel Embiid and James Harden. You could throw Tyrese Maxey in there as well, but it's Embiid and Harden. For the Lakers, it's LeBron and AD. We see how that's working out. The Celtics, it's Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. And then you throw in some other great pieces as well. But it's basically going back to the twosomes now. Because, we went back to you go back to the early 2000s, and it was Kobe and Shaq, right? Partners like that. Or after that, it was Kobe and Pau Gasol, then other pieces. The Miami Heat, Dwayne Wade and Shaq. And then LeBron set the new precedent of the big three when he went to Miami, and then everyone else tried to duplicate that. Golden State Warriors originally, Klay Thompson and Steph Curry. I should say Steph Curry first, obviously, but then they added Kevin Durant for that short championship run as well. So I think we're seeing the end of the big three, at least for now, I would say. But now you're going to go back to more teams being competitive with two superstars. But I think Phoenix is the lone exception, only right now for the short term, for the last couple of months, because they made this blockbuster move. But who knows how long that can last? But I would say this blow up of the Nets is ultimately going to say, you know what? Any NBA team, if you bring in two superstars, you have a chance to win because there's so much more parity around the league.
Yep, should be enough. By the way, that's Joe Mazzulla. That's the name you're looking for the Celtics, who, by the way, they are plus 280 right now. Bucks plus 420. Suns have left. They've leapfrogged about 5 teams at plus 460. And to your point with Kyrie, think about this. Plays with LeBron in Cleveland, doesn't work out. I want to get out of there. Goes to Boston, inconsistencies, the injuries. It doesn't work out. I want more of a role, a more defined role. Okay, then turns around. Let me sign with the Nets. Doesn't work out. So that's a player that he'll be that vagabond. He's going to jump. He's going to jump. He's going to jump. And if you're KD, you start to get into this category of, and we'll segue it into LeBron in a moment, where, where do we define you when it's all said and done? What uniform are we defining you? What player are we going to, what franchise, when you think about it? Because look at how OKC, Golden State, now Brooklyn, now Phoenix. I mean, this is the new era of the NBA. If you can't beat them, you turn around and then you join them. And in this case, he won it out, which really begs the question now. This is the difference between the NFL and the NBA. The NBA, when you have players that gripe, bitch, whine, and complain, the owners take a step back and they submit. Okay, the NFL sits there and says, yeah, so what? Unless you really make a stink and you're trying to fleece another team by jettisoning a player, you're not going to get moved. The
Well, because
coach
the
usually
NBA is
gets
a big
fired.
time players league and the NFL is not like that because again, you have bigger rosters. It's a
Of
more
course.
injury prone sport, and despite the fact that, the NBA players seem to have all this load management and still get hurt anyway. But
Yep.
the NBA is such a players league because one player can change the fortunes of an entire team. Essentially, if you're a superstar in the NBA, I'll liken it to a quarterback in the NFL. A great quarterback can turn you around. One great player in the NBA can turn you around. That's the entire team. But there are so fewer great quarterbacks in the NFL than there are great
Sure.
players in the NBA that can turn a team around. So
Quarterback
now,
makes you competitive. NBA,
right,
you can win a championship.
a quarterback can make you competitive. Can you win you a championship? Maybe, but you need a whole team around him. That's why they call it the All 22. For the NBA, a Kevin Durant can go to pretty much any team and make them a legitimate playoff contender. I don't know about title contender, but he could turn them around more so than a quarterback can turn around an entire football team. So that's the way I liken it. But